She never used to hear the forest at night. Living at the edge of Briar Ridge meant wind, howls, the distant swell of the river harmless. Familiar sounds that made up the soundtrack of her evenings. But the howl, that wasn't familiar, and it wasn't a normal howl. Elara froze on her porch the first time she heard it. Coffee mug halfway to her lips, breath frosting the air. The sound didn't rise and fall like a wolf. It spiraled, almost melodic, threading itself into the trees. It felt less like a sound and more like a signal. Her grandmother once said some sounds slip into your bones. This one did. It made the hair on her arms stand up. It made her heartbeat stutter. It made her step closer to the tree line without realizing she'd moved. Elara stared into the forest darkness, the pines swaying like restless giants, and whispered, "Who's there?" The forest answered with silence. Not quiet silence, like everything was holding its breath with her. She backed away slowly, closing her door with a shaky hand. But the sound followed her inside. Not the howl, the pulse, a faint, rhythmic thrum-thrum beneath her skin. Like a second heartbeat waking up, she rubbed her forearm, frowning. Her skin felt hot there, fever warm, but only in one spot, just above her wrist. Exactly where, 3 days ago, she noticed a strange mark forming, a small, crescent-shaped discoloration. She assumed it was a bruise or allergic reaction to herbs she had planted, but now it glowed faintly under the kitchen light, not bright, but unmistakable. Her breath hitched. She touched it. The forest answered. Another howl soared through the trees. Closer this time, lower, deeper, and painfully familiar. Elara stumbled back, knocking her mug off the counter. It shuddered at her feet, but she didn't look down. She knew that sound. She'd heard it when she was 6, clinging to her grandmother's skirt during the bonfire vigil. Villagers whispered it belonged to the ghost wolf, the ancient guardian of the ridge, the one who appeared only in wars and omens. Her grandmother had bent down, cupping her face, and whispered, "If you ever hear that howl again, it means the pack has started watching you." Elara didn't sleep that night. How could she? The howl echoed at irregular intervals, circling the forest line, growing nearer, then drifting away as if pacing, as if deciding. Her mark burned hotter. By dawn, she had packed a bag, convinced she was just being paranoid, just overreacting. She drove to work, tried to answer emails at her desk, tried to ignore the pulsing in her arm, tried to pretend she didn't feel watched. It was when she walked past the mirrored glass of the office lobby that she stopped dead. Her reflection wasn't alone. Behind her, in the forest beyond the parking lot, stood a massive wolf, silver-fured, amber-eyed, still as stone, but aware as any human. Its reflection stared straight into her, through her, and for a single, breathless second, its eyes glowed the same color as her mark. Then it vanished. No wind, no rustle, no movement. Just gone, Elara gasped, stumbling back, nearly dropping her bag. Her co-worker laughed nervously. "You okay? You look like you saw a ghost." Not a ghost, she thought. A sign. Her grandmother's voice whispered through memory like a breeze. The pack chooses only one in a generation, and they never choose wrong. Elara walked backward into the office restroom, locked the door, and rolled up her sleeve. The mark was no longer a mark. It was a sigil. Lines of faint gold radiated from the crescent, branching into runic patterns that pulsed like fireflies trapped under her skin. Her ears rang, her pulse thundered. She grabbed the sink for balance as her legs weakened. A whisper curled through her mind. Not a voice, not a thought, a presence. "Come to the ridge." She staggered. No, she said. No, no, I'm not. The mark flared, a sharp burn that raced up her arm and through her chest. She cried out, collapsing to her knees. The presence pulsed again. Come, or you will break. Her breath shuddered out of her. Tears blurred her vision. She didn't understand what was happening, only that she had no choice. The sigil wasn't asking, the sigil was awakening. Elara stood slowly, trembling. She washed her face, steadied her breath, grabbed her coat, and walked out of the building. Past her co-workers, past the parking lot, past the edge of safety, into the forest, toward the howl, toward the pack, toward whatever she was becoming. The moment Elara steps past the tree line, the world changes. Not dramatically, not with thunder or supernatural spectacle. Quietly, intimately, like the forest has been waiting for a breath to cross into its territory. The air thickens. Wet pine and cold soil fill her lungs. Light filters differently, dimmer, almost liquid, as if passing through unseen layers of memory. The mark on her arm pulses, matching her heartbeat exactly. T-H-R-U-M. Thrum, T-H-R-U-M. She presses her hand against it, wincing. The heat isn't unbearable. It's intentional, like a guiding torch pressed under the skin. A twig snaps somewhere behind her. She spins, nothing there, but she feels it. Something watching, measuring, waiting to see if she'll keep going. Elara tightens her grip on her coat and walks deeper, forcing her pulse to calm. Every footstep crunches over frost-lace needles. For a moment she thinks she hears whispering in the wind, soft, melodic, distant. Then the trees shift. Not physically, she's not hallucinating. It's more like recognition. The pines stand taller, the branches curl inward. The entire forest subtly leans toward her, like observers adjusting for a better view. Her grandmother's voice trembles through her memory. There are forests you walk into, and forests that walk into you. Elara stops walking. Her breath fogs in a trembling plume. She whispers into the emptiness, "Why me?" The forest answers with silence, then a soft crunch behind her. She turns again, breath held tight in her chest. This time, she sees it, a shape between the trees, large, still, watching, her eyes glowing the same faint gold as her sigil. Not threatening, not friendly. Recognizing, she inhales sharply. "Are you?" The words feel childish. "Are you following me?" The figure tilts its head. Then it steps behind a pine trunk and disappears. Elara's pulse spikes. She takes an involuntary step forward. Her foot lands on a patch of moss that depresses with a soft crunch. Too soft. She kneels, pushing her fingers into it, curiosity overriding fear. It isn't moss, it's fur. Old fur, matted into the ground, fused to soil like a pelt shed decades ago. When she pulls her hand back, golden dust clings to her fingertips. It glows faintly the same color as her sigil. Something inside her chest convulses. A memory not her own flares behind her eyes. A flash of a great wolf running through these same trees. Paws cutting wind like blades. Breath steaming silver dot. The vision fades instantly, leaving her gasping, dizzy. What was that? But the answer is already shifting inside her bones. The forest does remember her, because she's been here before. Just not like this. She stands, wiping her hands on her coat. Another howl spirals through the trees closer. Clearer, filled with an old ache. Not hungry, not territorial. Carling it tugs at something deep under her ribs. Without thinking, she moves toward it. The trees open into a narrow trail that curves toward the ridge. Fog spills across it like slow-moving tidewater. As she walks, she notices things. The birds don't flee from her. They follow her, hopping from branch to branch. The deer watching from the brush don't bolt. They bow their heads as she passes. The wind doesn't cut her skin. It circles her warm, guiding, protective. Her mark throbs harder now, pushing light through the fabric of her sleeve. Elara lifts the cloth and stares. The crescent sigils, runes have expanded, fine golden lines spreading up her arm like vines. The more she walks, the brighter they glow. She whispers, "You're not hurting me. You're leading me," as if rewarding her realization. The mark pulses warmly. She rounds a bend in the trail, and the forest parts. A stone circle lies ahead, ancient, weather-worn, covered in runes that match the ones glowing under her skin. The air thrums with expectation, with recognition, with memory. Elara takes a step toward the circle and stops, because she's not alone. Wolves stand among the stones, 8 of them, massive, silent, eyes glowing gold, silver, bronze, each color marking their lineage. They don't growl, don't advance. They simply part to create an opening for her, an invitation. Her legs tremble. Why? Why are you doing this? The largest wolf, silver-furred amber-eyed, steps forward. Its paws sink into the frost-soft earth with the weight of something ancient, something regal. It lowers its head, not in dominance. In acknowledgement, the mark on Elara's arm blazes. Suddenly she understands without words, without logic, without needing to. The pack didn't follow her. The pack was summoning her, and now the alpha bows. Her grandmother's whisper fills her skull. Every generation, the pack chooses one, not for what they are, but for what they can become. Elara tries to speak, but her throat closes with emotion. She steps into the center of the stone circle. The sigil burns. The wolves raise their heads in unison, and somewhere deep inside her bones, something stirs and awakens. The moment Elara steps into the stone circle, the fog thins around her ankles like a living thing retreating in respect. The wolves sit, not like animals, like guardians taking their place in an ancient rite. The silver alpha stands closest to her. Its breath fogs the air in slow, measured waves, each exhale shaped with intent. Like a chant, Elara's heart pounds so hard it feels like the forest can hear it. She wants to ask questions. She wants to run. She wants to understand. But the sigil on her arm decides for her. A pulse of heat slams through her body, so sudden she gasps. The runes on her skin flare blinding gold, breaking into patterns she's never seen, runic arcs, crescent glyphs, symbols that twist and weave like they're rearranging themselves. She stumbles forward. The wolves remain perfectly still. Another pulse hits deeper, louder, felt in her bones. Her knees collapse. She falls to the forest floor, hands sinking into the frost and dirt. The cold feels distant, as though she's touching the world from underwater. Then a sound tears out of her chest, a raw, involuntary groan of pain. Elara clutches her arm, but the sigil crawls under her fingers, weaving itself across her skin. The gold lines climb toward her elbow. Her wrist cracks, a subtle shift, a rearrangement. She gasps through clenched teeth. What's happening to me? The silver alpha steps closer, not threatening, reassuring. Its eyes glow brighter. Its chest rises once, and Elara feels the thrum of its breath vibrating inside her ribcage. A memory not her own strikes her. Running on all fours, under a pale moon, the scent of cedar and blood in the night, the pack circling, protecting. Belonging, the vision collapses as quickly as it came. She screams, not just from pain, but from the flood of identity that isn't hers. Her shoulders shudder violently. Arcade at her shoulder blades shift beneath her skin, grinding against bone. Heat floods her back, as if something is pushing from inside, trying to find room. Her breath comes in ragged bursts. I can't handle this. The Alpha leans forward, its forehead touching her arm with a gentleness that contradicts. It sighs the moment they make contact. The sigil stops burning for half a heartbeat. Everything is still. Then, WHUMPF, a shockwave of golden energy bursts from her arm, ripping through the stone circle. Leaves lift from the ground. Fog spirals upward in columns. The wolf's fur ripples with the force of it. Elara is thrown backward, landing hard on her back in the center of the circle. She stares up through the trees, eyes wide, pupils blown, as the sigil on her arm spreads across her chest like wildfire. Lines of gold trace her collarbone. Her pulse hammers so loudly she feels it in her teeth. She tries to sit, but another tremor wrecks through her torso. Her spine arches, lifting her off the ground. Her fingers dig into the earth too deep. The soil sinks beneath nails that have grown longer without her noticing. Her breath breaks into sharp gasps. No, please. This time she isn't begging the wolves. She's begging her own body to stop. But destiny doesn't stop. The runes on the stone circle ignite, one by one, gold light racing along their carved grooves, forming a connected ring of burning symbols. The forest darkens around her, not nightfall. Reverence, the wolves lift their heads toward the sky. Elara's body convulses, CRRK. Her jaw pops, her teeth ache like they're being pulled from roots. CRRK. Her spine jolts, her shoulder blades twitched violently. CRRK. Her ribs expand in tiny increments, each one sharp with pressure. She opens her mouth to scream, but what comes out is neither human nor wolf. A roar, trembling half-howl, spirals into the air. The Alpha responds with a short, resonant growl, not dominance. Instruction, ELARA, single quotes S. Forearm glows again. The sigil's lines press upward against her skin, reshaping the bones beneath. Her eyes flicker one moment brown, the next moment a molten gold that reflects the entire circle. Tears mix with sweat as she clutches her skull, whispering through the agony, I don't want to be a monster. The forest seems to lean closer. A whisper curls through the trees, not from wolves, not from wind, but from the old magic itself. You were never meant to be one. Her breath catches. Then what am I? The Alpha steps in front of her, lowering itself so its eyes meet hers directly, and in a deep, resonant silence. She understands what it cannot speak. She isn't being turned, she's being returned. Her grandmother's words echo like a prophecy. The pack chooses only blood. Of the first line, Elara's body shakes as the next pulse comes stronger, deeper, this time not burning, but becoming. Her bones begin to realign again. This time, she doesn't fight. This time, she lets it come. Her breath steadies, even as her body cracks and shifts. Her fingers lengthen. Her spine ripples. Her senses sharpen. She feels the forest breathe around her. She feels the pack watching with reverence. She feels her human fear dissolving into something older and stronger, something waiting to be reborn. As the moon rises above the ridge, the sigil blazes in full firelight. The transformation has begun, and it will not stop until she is what she was always meant to be. Elara is on her hands and knees, breath fogging in frantic bursts, her body trembling under the weight of the sigil's fire. Her vision fractures not into darkness, but into layers. Layers of scent, layers of sound, layers of movement she never noticed in her human life. like seeing the world through truth instead of habit. Her heart hammers, her bones ache, her skin feels too tight. She grips the dirt until her elongated nails carve grooves into the frozen soil. She whispers, choking, "Please stop." But the sigil doesn't stop. It answers .thrum, a pulse through her muscles, .thrum, a shift in her spine, thrum, a beat that isn't hers. The wolves stand in a semicircle around her, their eyes glowing brighter as the symbols carved into the stone ignite with swirling gold. Mist coils around their paws, like reverent smoke. The silver alpha, the one who bowed, steps forward first. Elara lifts her head, tears streaking her dirt-stained cheeks. "Help me." Another tremor racks her body. Her back arches sharply, vertebrae popping one after another like dim fireworks beneath the skin. Her breath turns into a whimper. "I don't want to lose myself." The alpha leans forward and touches its forehead to hers. A shock of cold clarity blasts through her mind. Images flood her vision, not memories, but ancestral echoes. A woman stirring a fire under a red moon, a pack circling her protectively, a newborn pup placed in her arms, runes carved into birch bark glowing as she whispers a vow. Then betrayal, fire consuming a village, the pack scattering in grief. A lone infant carried into the forest by a silver-furred guardian. The vision collapses. Elara gasps, clutching her chest. What? What was that?" Her voice breaks on the last word. The alpha steps back. Behind it, one of the smaller wolves, brown-furred eyes, amber bright, huffs a low breath. Then another wolf huffs. Then a third. They are not threatening her. They are calling her forward. Elara stumbles to her feet. Her knees buckle, but she forces herself upright, gripping her throbbing arm. A sigil blazing through the dirt and moonlight. The wolves shift formation, creating a path deeper into the circle. Elara knows instinctively this is no longer about being chosen. This is a trial, a ritual older than human memory, a rite that decides if her body, mind, and bloodline are worthy of returning to the first line. She steps forward, her legs shake violently. The air grows heavier with each footstep, like she's walking deeper into gravity. Her senses sharpen further painfully. She smells each wolf individually. Pine sap, river water, cold stone, wild musk. She hears the beat of the raven's wings overhead. She hears the soft earthworms writhing under the soil. She hears a heartbeat that isn't hers, low, powerful, pulsing from the exact center of the stone circle. She follows it. At the center lies a circular depression in the earth, lined with runic stones and old claw marks. The sigil on her arm pulses, imperfect, sync with the heartbeat. She kneels not because she wants to, but because her body yields. The alpha stands behind her, towering, its breath warm against her back. Elara whispers, "I'm scared." A massive paw settles gently on her shoulder, the last human comfort she will know tonight. Then CRRK-WD. Her chest jerks forward. Her ribs expand rapidly, cracking outward as if creating space for something larger inside. She gasps in agony. Her jaw elongates another fraction, skin tearing at the corners before sealing again with golden heat. Her vision blurs, her fingers curl involuntarily, half-formed claws scraping the stone. Her back arches sharply, Krieg, as her spine reshapes itself, each bone thickening, strengthening, shifting into a new architecture. Her scream shatters into a guttural growl halfway through. The wolves respond, not alarmed, not predatory, but with a rising chorus. a low harmonic rumble that pushes her body to continue. A ritual song, a betrayal song. Elara tries to crawl away from the pain, but her limbs betray her, shifting, elongating, tightening with new muscle. She collapses back onto her elbows. Sweat steams from her skin. The sigil on her arm spreads to her shoulder, her throat, her ribs. Then a moment of terrifying stillness. The forest goes silent, the wolves quiet, the stone runes dim. Elara holds one trembling breath. A single low heartbeat booms through her chest. Then everything explodes inside her. Her bones snap and fuse, her spine lengthens. Her jaw thrusts forward, her teeth sharpen with a wet crack. Her knees bend backward. Her fingernails split into blackened claws. Her skin ripples with the emergence of silver-streaked fur. She screams, but the sound is no longer human, and the moment it leaves her throat, every wolf in the circle bows their head, not because she is finished changing, but because she has begun. Elara collapses forward, panting, half-shifted eyes burning gold. Her voice flickers through her mangled throat. Am I one of you? The alpha steps forward. It lowers its head, and for the second time in her life, but the first time as truth, a single silent answer fills her bones. You always were. Elara lies in the center of the stone circle, half-shifted, ribs heaving, her skin shimmering with lines of gold like molten veins. Her hair, tangled and wind-lashed, hangs in silver-streaked tufts. Her vision sharpens and softens in uneven waves. One moment, she sees through human eyes. The next, she sees through lupine instinct. Heat signatures, shifting shadows, pulsing heartbeats of every creature within the ridge. Her mind fights to hold shape. Her body fights to choose one. The pack watchers in reverent silence. The silver alpha steps closer and lowers its head until their foreheads almost touch. Its breath washes over her like warm fog. For a moment, everything goes still. Then dash, flash. Her vision is flooded with light. Not sunlight, memory light. A voice she has never heard speaks inside her skull. You are the last of the First Bloodline, she gasps. What? What does that mean? The alpha's eyes glow brighter. The stones around her pulse, the runes on her skin throb in sync with the pack. The memory overtakes her. Ancestral vision eye. The night of the Elara stands. No, another woman stands, but she feels the woman's heartbeat as her own. The woman is strong, hair braided with silver feathers, arms marked with runes that flow with moonlight. The pack surrounds her in a tighter formation than Elara has ever seen, a circle of loyalty, reverence, and fear. At the center of the clearing lies a small infant wrapped in fur, a baby with a crescent-shaped mark on her arm, a mark identical to Elara's. The woman whispers over the child. Moon, keep her. Forest, guard her. Pack, walk with her. The pack bows. A wind cuts through the trees. The woman lifts her eyes to the moon and says one final line that shatters Elara's chest. Let my blood outlive my body. The vision burns away. Elara drops to her elbows, sobbing. That was abuse. The alpha nods, not with motion, but with presence. Flash, another memory detonates inside her. Ancestral vision to the betrayal fire. Screams, torches, whipping through the trees, and dozens of them, hunting the same woman. Her ancestor stands between the flames and the infant, teeth bared, runes blazing. Human soldiers shout, kill the witch. But behind the woman, the pack erupts from the forest silver. Black, crimson, grey fur, bristling, fangs gleaming. A battle ignites under a blood moon, claws slash, men fall, wolves howl. But for every soldier that dies, more appear. The woman, bleeding, turns to the silver alpha. the same line Elara now faces, and places the child in its jaws gently. She whispers a final command. Run, raise her, our line must endure. The Alpha bolts into the forest carrying the infant. The woman turns back toward the army, runes blazing with last-light fire. She screams, a roar of magic and wolf spirit as soldiers close in. The vision fades on. Her final stand, Elara cries out, clutching her chest as her breath shatters. That's why the pack raised me. The wolves lower their heads, not because they pity her, because they honor her. The sigil on her arm glows brighter than ever, spreading across her collarbone, illuminating her heartbeat beneath her skin. Elara whispers through trembling lips, I is never abandoned. The Alpha steps closer, touching its nose to her forehead. You are hidden. The message isn't words, it's instinct, old as the ridge. She swallows hard, voice cracking. What? What do you want from me? The wolves shift, forming a circle around her. The stones blaze brighter. The trial shifts into something deeper. The packed fog curls upward from the earth in tendrils. The runes beneath her pulse with ancient rhythm. A third and final vision surges into her skull. Ancestral Vision 3, the true purpose of the first. Lionether Silver Alpha carries the infant deeper into the forest. Days pass, maybe weeks. The infant grows, nurtured by the pack, sleeping in fur piles, crawling on moss, learning through instinct, through touch, through bond. The pack surrounds her, not as wolves protecting prey, but as elders shaping a future leader. The older wolves bow to the child as she takes her first steps. The Alpha places a paw on her chest, right over the crescent sigil, and the runes ignite for the first time. The pack howls as one. The child becomes the first shewolf, a bridge between human and wolf, guardian of the ridge, a being born to protect both worlds. The vision burns away. Elara collapses back into the present, body trembling. Her ancestor wasn't cursed. She was chosen, and so was Elara. She looks up at the wolves in shock. Voice, barely a whisper. You think I can become her? The Alpha lowers itself until its eyes are level with hers. A pulse of certainty fills her. You must. Elara chokes on a sob. I don't know if I'm strong enough. The Alpha's gaze sharpens with fierce resolve. She feels the message radiate through her bones like thunder. Strength is not what you were born with. It is what you become. Elara wipes her tears with shaking, half-shifted fingers. Then show me. The wolves stand. The circle ignites, and the trial moves into its next final stage, acceptance. The stone circle glows like a furnace around Elara, runes pulsing with ancient heat. Fog coils into spirals, drawn upward by a moon that feels too close, too aware. The wolves stand tall in a widening ring, silent, waiting, judging. Not predators, not protectors. Witnesses. Elara kneels on the cold earth, half-shifted, hair plastered to her face with sweat. Her eyes glowing unevenly, one human, brown and terrified, the other golden, burning with instinct and memory. Her breath trembles. Tell me what to do, she whispers. The Alpha steps forward. It does not growl, nudge, push, or bow. It simply stands before her and waits. The message is unmistakable. Choose. Elara's body shakes violently. I didn't ask for this. A tremor splits through her ribs so sharply she arches off the ground. C-R-R-R-K-C-R-R, K-cracker. Spine elongates another inch. The torso expands. Her skin ripples with waves of fur that disappear, retreat, then surge again. She gasps, grabbing her chest. I'm scared. Another convulsion. Her clavicles shift outward with a sickening pop. Her shoulders roll forward, thickening with muscle. Her fingernails tear, regrow as claws, tear again. Tears run down her cheeks, mixing with sweat. The alpha does not move. None of the wolves do. Because the trial is not about endurance. It is about acceptance. Elara drops to all fours. Her breath is ragged, wet. Animal, I don't want to lose who I am. The sigil blazes across her chest. Pain hits her like lightning. She screams, but halfway through, the scream breaks into a snarling gasp, her jaw elongating mid-cry, skin cracking at the corners of her mouth. Her voice becomes something between a woman and a wolf. And still the alpha waits, not helping, not comforting, not intervening. Because destiny is not handed. Destiny is claimed. Elara's vision fractures. The forest becomes a mosaic. Shadows of movement, pulses of heat. The scent of moss and fear and old magic. Her heart pounds. She digs. Her claws are real ones, gnaw into the soil. The moonlight thickens, heavy as hands pressing onto her back. The air swells, vibrating. Her bones crack against the Oraraxia. Her Kabruka spine shoots upward, lengthening fully this time. Her shoulders widen, her arms contort, muscles rearranging with brutal purpose. She gasps, choking on saliva and heat. I don't know if I can. The alpha steps even closer, eyes glowing with fierce truth. The message hits her like a voice inside her blood. You already are. The pain stops. Instantly the forest holds its breath. Elara kneels there, trembling, feeling something she hasn't felt since before the ritual began. Cologne silence. Stillness. Her heartbeat slows, her breath steadies. The sigil calms, dimming to a gentle pulse. Her mind clears, and then she feels it. The choice of voice her own this time whispers inside her. Let me through. Elara closes her eyes, takes a breath, and stops resisting. The transformation comes not like violence, but like release. Asterix, her spine curves and settles into a new, powerful arch. Her ribs expand in a controlled, natural ripple, no longer fighting her. Her jaw elongates fluidly, bones gliding into place. Her teeth sharpen without tearing. Her skin warms, then splits beautifully as silver-streaked fur pushes through. Her fingers lengthen with purpose, forming perfect predatory claws. Her legs tighten, muscles weaving themselves into feral strength. Her hearing sharpens, the world blossoms into layers of sound. Her sense of smell detonates into clarity, pine, sap, wolf musk, the metallic temps of moonlight, and at the center of it, not a monster, not a creature losing her humanity, a being gaining its truth. The transformation completes with a single, deep exhale that fogs the entire clearing. When she lifts her head, the forest reflects her new form, a towering shewolf, silver-furred, gold-eyed runes glowing faintly across her chest and forearms. Not cursed, crowned tree stands, breath steaming, claws sinking into the earth with immaculate strength. The wolves bow, all of them. Even the alpha, Elara, freezes not from fear this time, but from the shattering realization. They are not bowing to a newcomer. They are bowing to their heir. Her breath stutters. The alpha rises again and steps closer, touching its forehead to hers. A single pulse of recognition flows between them. You have returned. Lara's eyes burn gold. Her chest Riza's eyes, and for the first time in her life, in her human life, in her forgotten life, in her reborn life, she howls. It is not rage, or fear, or pain, it is claim. It shakes the trees, it ripples through the stones, it sends ravens spiraling into the sky. The pack answers in a harmonized chorus. their voices weaving through the ridge like a living storm. The rite of bone and moonfire ends, and the shewolf Heir stands where a frightened girl once knelt. Asterisk. The forest holds stillness the way cathedrals hold prayer. Elara stands within the stone circle, breath spilling in warm clouds, silver-streaked fur shifting in the wind. Her claws curl into the earth like roots, her eyes burn with molten gold. She is the shewolf reborn, the Heir returned, but she is also Elara, the woman who drank coffee on her porch, the woman who flinched at her reflection, the woman who whispered, "Why me?" Both truths pulse together beneath her skin. Her heart is not just beating, it is remembering. The wolves quiet their howling, one by one, until only the wind moves through the ridge. The Alpha steps forward again, slowly now, as though approaching royalty. Elara meets its gaze and lowers her huge lupin head. A shared breath, a shared heartbeat. The Alpha speaks without words. Your trial is over. She wants to respond, but her voice is buried somewhere inside this new form, not lost, just deep. She bows once more. Instinctively, the wolves bow back. Her chest tightens. Acceptance, recognition, belonging, things she never knew she needed. The sigil on her chest dimly pulses beneath the fur, no longer burning, but marking a brand of lineage, a crown. The Alpha turns toward the forest, and the pack moves with it. But Elara doesn't follow. She looks up at the moon, huge, silver-white, haloing her in its glow, and something shifts inside her. Not pain, not pressure, a choice. Her transformation slows. Her breath grows shallow, her paws tremble. She lowers herself to the ground, feeling the earth's heartbeat sync with her own. Then the runes dim, her fur retracts, her spine contracts into a familiar human curve. Her jaw shortens, her teeth soften, her eyes flicker brown again. She gasps, and shoot into her chest as warm breath floods back into human lungs. Her fingers, now fingers again, dig into the dirt. Silver dust falls from her hair. She kneels there, naked, trembling, human once more. The wolves watch silently, not with judgment, but with reverence. As she breathes, she whispers, "I'm still me." Her voice shakes, her chest rises. Her hands curl into the earth. "I'm still me." A soft, rumbling growl answers the Alpha's approval. She wipes tears from her eyes, trembling from the cold, from the change, from the overwhelming sense of clarity, just stands slowly, wrapping her arms around herself. Moonlight spills over her skin like a blessing. One truth fills her with a warmth she didn't expect. She can shift back. She can move between worlds. She is not cursed to choose. She is destined to belong to both. Her grandmother's words return like a prophecy settling into place. The pack chooses only one in a generation, not to take them, to return them. Elara breathes in a long, steady inhale that carries pine and frost and the faint musk of wolf fur. She looks at the pack, voice quiet but steady. What happens now? The Alpha turns toward the forest edge and stops at the threshold where moonlight meets shadow. Then it looks back at her. A simple motion, a command, an invitation, a promise. Walk with us. Elara steps forward, heart pounding with new purpose. But as her foot touches the mossy ground outside the circle, she feels something else. A heartbeat, far away, familiar, afraid. A sound splits the night, not a howl, but a scream, human, terrified, echoing from the village she left behind. Elara freezes. The pack turns sharply, ears raised, bodies tense. The alpha looks at her, not questioning, waiting. Elara, single quotes. Lungs tighten. The forest feels smaller now. The moon feels sharper. Her senses feel too awake to ignore the danger calling her back. She whispers, "Someone needs help." The sigil on her chest flares faintly, not in pain, but in purpose. She looks at the alpha. The alpha looks back. A message passes between them like a spark catching dry leaves. Go. Elara lowers to all fours briefly as the shift begins faster, smoother than before. Her bones align, her fur blooms across her arms. Her breath thickens, turning into warm clouds of steam. She's not fully wolf this time, not fully human, a hybrid form made for speed, agility, and clarity, a protector's form. The alpha and the pack bow once more, to their heir, not as ritual, but as respect. Elara's golden eyes burn. She launches forward, sprinting for the village, the forest parting before her as though it has waited years for this moment. The pack runs beside her, a blur of silver, black and crimson fur. Her feet pound the earth. Her breath cuts the frost. Her heart beats with destiny. For the first time in her life, she knows exactly who she is. The she-wolf, chosen by fate. The heir of the First Bloodline. The protector of her people. The one who walks in both worlds. And her story. This is only the beginning.